What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS, bringing you the Monday Night Showdown between the Bengals and Cowboys. And if Dak was here, this would be a really good game. But unfortunately, he's not. We have Cooper Rush still. And, man, we have two very, very, very bad defenses. No one expected Dallas's defense to be this bad, but they've been bad. Granted, they've been banged up. But it's still overall, the defense has just been very bad. Cincinnati's defense, it doesn't seem can stop pretty much any team. Maybe this is a team they can. I don't know if I'm willing to take the chance on it. So going over, just starting it off with 3 players over 10K and 1 player at 11K. If you guys remember the Thursday Night Showdown, the prices were completely different. So you're going to have to get really creative if you want to get some of these top pieces. So I'll start off by saying Jamar Chase in a really good spot against Dallas. Now, the stuff that we're watching for is Trayvon Diggs for Dallas, if he's in or out. If he's out, it's good for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. If it's in, it's still good for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because he's not the a lockdown corner, right? Him and Bland both had, similar type seasons to where they got interceptions and it was amazing. But on the same side, they gave up a lot of yards because they were trying to get those interceptions. So Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both in really good spots. I mean, man, with how bad Cincinnati's defense is, their offense makes up for it. You look at Jamar Chase's run as of late, he's got 6 touchdowns in the last three games. Now, this is something to watch for. Is Dallas's offense. If Dallas's offense can put up numbers against Cincinnati's defense, this could be another game to where we see these. But you're looking at a lot of these games where Jamar Chase goes off, and they're back and forth games, right? You're looking at other games to where Cincinnati's either not in it, the other team's not scoring, and Jamar Chase isn't as involved in those. But the games where it's back and forth, in those close games, it's Jamar Chase, right? He has that upside. He has that, 20-plus ceiling. We've seen a 58 and a 44, granted, both against the same defense. But we've seen, against Washington where he got 32, but he's gotten some 20-plus point performances against Pittsburgh's defense, the Chargers defense, Philly's defense, Washington's defense. So it's not saying that Jamar Chase cannot play against good defenses, because he can. But on the other side, for $2,000 less is T. Higgins, right? And T. Higgins is very good. I love T. Higgins. I think he just doesn't get the same star on him because of Jamar Chase being there and how good Jamar Chase is. But T. Higgins is a vital point to this offense. Since his return, he's gotten 23 targets in those 2 games. He's gotten a touchdown in both games, and he's got over 100 yards a game. So T. Higgins being very included in this. And for him and Jamar Chase, they're both going to line up on the outsides. Yosivas and Burton are going to kind of split, but Yosivas would probably be the primary slot guy. I'm liking T. Higgins more for the $2,000 pay down. If you want to pay up for multiple guys and you're looking to fade one or the other, I like T. Higgins. I do. He's more of the reception guy for me, kind of the third down receiver. So I like T. Higgins for $2,000 less than Jamar Chase. CeeDee Lamb, this one's interesting. I don't get CeeDee Lamb's price. I don't. Maybe it's just the name, but there is no reason CeeDee Lamb should be 10-6 on a showdown with where he's been since Dak. Even with Dak, the games he's gotten this year, this is not the CeeDee Lamb we're used to. Granted, the targets are there, right? Gets the Giants game, he gets kind of banged up, and it seemed like they just were keeping him out just to make sure he was good to go the rest of the season. But he did practice, right? So He's good to go. But 10-6 for a guy that has only had 2 games this season, 2 above 20 DraftKings points. Is he really worth paying on this slate? I don't think so. Now, I love CeeDee Lamb as a talent. He's a top 5 receiver in the league, right? And he's going to continue to be. But without Dak Prescott, the ceiling is very, very, very much lower. They're including Rico Dowdle a lot more. They're using the tight ends. They're using, someone like Turpin. They don't need to go through CeeDee Lamb. Like they're not winning games. Like they're not going, hey, like we're winning games, so we don't need to use CeeDee Lamb. Kind of like how Minnesota's been with Justin Jefferson almost, except for yesterday. But I don't see paying 10-6 for CeeDee Lamb on this slate. I just don't. Now, I don't think a lot of people are either. So if CeeDee Lamb goes off, you're probably going to get some leverage there. But I just don't. I don't want to pay 10-6. Like I would rather pay for Joe Burrow, for Chase Brown, for T. Higgins. Hell, even like Cooper Rush, I would want to pay for over CeeDee Lamb. Like the upside can be there for CeeDee Lamb. Like the Bengals defense is so bad. I want Dak Prescott. If Dak was in this game, I would like it so much more. But he's not. And man, it kills me. As someone that's very invested in CeeDee Lamb in fantasy, it's hurt me this season with his not hitting those 20-point games every now and then to kind of bail you out in weeks. So I don't like CeeDee Lamb. Joe Burrow, yes. Like Dallas's defense has been better against the pass than the rush. That's where they've gotten beat. But Joe Burrow has just been lights out this year. If they were a winning team, he would 100% be in the MVP discussion. Not saying he would win, but he would be in that discussion. 3,300 yards and 30 passing touchdowns. Like the last 4 games, he's had 3+ touchdowns in every game. The thing that I like for both quarterbacks is you're facing 2 defenses, Cincinnati and Dallas, that give up the most rushing yards to quarterbacks. So for the upside of Cooper Rush and Joe Burrow getting some rushing, like we saw Joe Burrow against the Chargers, 28 yards. We've seen him against the Giants, 55 yards, that big run in primetime. Like Joe Burrow, he doesn't need to, right? The passing game is just so good. He doesn't need to run. But the rushing upside is there, and it's the same thing for Cooper Rush. Yet again, not a guy that's going to scramble, but the upside is there in the rushing department when you have, someone like Trey Hendrickson or Micah Parsons. Both those guys will get to the quarterbacks. Both offensive lines dealing with injuries. That's one to watch. For Dallas, they have a tackle that may not play. We already know Orlando Brown is not playing, so there is a real possibility we see some quarterback rushing upside in this one. Chase Brown kind of stands out to me at 9,800, less than Burrow, Lamb, and Chase. A little more expensive than Higgins, Dowdle, and Rush. So he's kind of that mid-tier. But, I mean, he has just been a volume machine their last 4 games. 27 carries, 13 carries, but gets 11 targets, 22 carries with 7 targets, and then last week against Pittsburgh, 12 attempts, 3 targets. So Chase Brown has got a pretty safe floor since kind of taking over the role, right? 19, 23, and 29. Hasn't really fumbled a lot. I think it's very doable for a touchdown upside. Dallas, a bottom 5 defense and rushing touchdowns to running back. So I love Chase Brown for his price point, kind of one of those pieces to build off of and figure out where else you're going here in these prices, right? You could easily get 2, maybe 3 other players and build around Chase Brown. That's how I see it, right? Dallas has just been getting beat by the run every game, it seems like. And Chase Brown's just been getting a lot of volume. So they're not in a spot to where Cincinnati, like, it's a miracle if they make the playoffs somehow. So it's not saying that, Chase Brown needs to slow down because they're just trying to see what they could do this season, get guys, maybe some bonus money and stuff like that. Now going down, Rico Dowdle, I'm not as interested in. Granted, he's gotten the volume. It's just not a good game script in my opinion. Now, Cincinnati missing two pieces, a very crucial linebacker and defensive tackle to their defense, who their defense has been bad already. So you can make that that call for Rico Dowdle because of those. And I don't have as much of a problem with it, but it's yet again the price for Rico Dowdle. You're hoping for one of these games to where he's gotten a lot of consistency in the receiving game, getting some checkdowns. It's one of the advantages of having a backup quarterback, someone like Cooper Rush. But the rushing upside has not been there as well, right? So even when he's had some of these good games, 4.5, 5.1, 4.4, 6.3, he's not getting the carries. He's just not getting enough carries for that to kind of work, and that's because they're losing a lot of these games. Same thing as Cincinnati. So going down, like, Cooper Rush makes sense to me, right? I think it's a good opportunity for Cooper Rush in the passing offense in this game. I'm okay with getting, a couple of these Cincinnati guys up here and then going Cooper Rush. Do I think you need to put someone with Cooper Rush? Possibly not, right? The way Dallas's receivers are, like, we'll just circle in on this and we'll just get it out of the way. You have CeeDee Lamb at 10.6. You have Brandon Cooks at 7K somehow. And then you go down and you get Turpin, whose upside is good. Jalen Tolbert. And then you have someone like Mingo and Brooks fighting for opportunities to see who's going to dress and play. But, I mean, I'd much rather pay for Turpin and Tolbert, especially Tolbert getting a lot of snaps. Turpin, the special teams upside, gets a few. He will get some type of volume on offense, but you don't know how many snaps he's going to get, right? That's a tough thing about going after him. But Brandon Cooks is just too expensive for me. So I'm okay with getting Cooper Rush, and then even getting someone like Jake Ferguson at 5,400, I think is a good piece to add to him. Or paying down and get one of these cheap guys down here. I like getting, Turpin, Tolbert, one of those guys that's going to be on the field, or one of the guys with the special teams upside. So, yeah, I just... Going Cooper Rush and then someone cheap kind of makes sense. Brandon Cooks is just priced too high for me in this slate. Mike Gesicki, I'm not really interested on the Cincinnati side. I'm more interested in Jake Ferguson, who's returning. You've kind of seen, just going back to it, it's easier to just go here, but you kind of see Schoonmaker, the work he's gotten since Ferguson went out. He's gotten some pretty good fantasy, but then you also go to Spanford, who in those 2 weeks got some volume as well. So it wasn't just, one guy getting all the volume. Spanford got a few targets, got some yards. If you add their points up, they're having a really good game. Now Dallas is going to use Schoonmaker still. It won't be solo Jake Ferguson. So, it's tough, but with the injury to Cincinnati's defense, kind of opens up the middle of the field for Jake Ferguson, not Schoonmaker. So I like Ferguson there. Now for kickers, McPherson's on the IR, so we get Cade York. Brandon Aubrey really, really interests me, and this is why. Dallas and Cincinnati are also two defenses that are really bad in the red zone. Dallas is a bottom 5 offense in the red zone, though. We've seen Brandon Aubrey, since Cooper Rush has taken over, is getting 2+ field goal attempts a game, right? Like, granted, when he gets a 53 or 48, it adds on, but I mean, this is a good opportunity game for Brandon Aubrey, facing a very bad defense and an offense that is bad in the red zone. Rico Dowdle is not a good red zone back, so I like Brandon Aubrey over Cade York in this one, but I do see the upside with Cade York as well, being on a top 5 offense in the league, getting down the field. But when you have a defense that is number 1, I believe, in red zone touchdown percentage, that may hurt him. But I do like both kickers tonight. Andre Iosivas not interested in against Dallas, especially for his price point. Not really interested in the defenses. If I had to pick one, it would just be Cincinnati with against Cooper Rush. But yeah, going down here to where we start to hit the values. Shoemaker will see the field. There are some opportunities there if they're running 2 tight ends. First price point. He's gotten work without Ferguson. Let's see how it is with Ferguson. Turpin and Tolbert kind of stand out to me. And then Khalil Herbert, I will mention Khalil Herbert in this game, has not really seen the field, right? I mentioned it's just been Chase Brown. But if Cincinnati has a good lead and they're going to run the ball a lot more, I would look at Khalil Herbert to get a couple extra snaps in this one. So I'm willing to take a shot at 2,400 for Khalil Herbert. Other than that, I like Jermaine Burton makes sense at $800 to kind of look at. Obviously, with Higgins, Yosivas, and Chase there, it's very hard for him to get on the field. But for his price point of all the way down at 800, maybe he's worth taking the shot. The Dallas running backs are all very cheap. Dalvin Cook, Zeke, Lukey, like all those guys are cheap. But I'm looking at Burton for like. There's not a lot of upside, but I mean, for a good offense, maybe Chase or Higgins gets hurt, something like that. They miss some snaps and he gets in and shines. But I'm really interested just in Turpin, Tolbert, and Herbert. Those guys kind of make sense to me. Maybe Tanner Hudson here at 2K. Not really interested in the Dallas running backs, but I mean, they're all cheap. So it's kind of where I'm at with the slate. So if you guys are interested in getting all my DraftKings plays on the showdowns, the main slate, where I have my player pools for you guys, as well as our bets and props and the whole FanDuel side of this, check out our website. Very cheap subscription package with all that included. So if you guys are interested in that, check it out. And I will see you guys in the next one.